Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Australian KISS series, eCrit series, powered by KISS, a Western race. We did the East earlier today. My name is Jesper Anker, and as always, or at least in recent times, I'm joined by my good friend and co-commentator Wesley Sulzberger. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm good, and I'm sure the races are getting warmed up. They probably were watching the stream earlier, so they would have seen the smash fest that happened at the end with all the power-ups going left, right, and center. That was the most amount of power-ups I've seen in one screen. You shared that little video of those power-ups. I think I counted at least about 7 or 8 aero power-ups. So everyone had been saving those power-ups, and it looks like we're going to get off the start line here, Jasper. Countdown, and we're away.
We are off already. So this is the Western eCrit. They're going to race the same course as the East boys did. But the West, we have Ben Simpson, we've got Richard Gills, Richard Cook, we've got Steve Yates, Rupert Walsh, we've got your, what do you call it, student, trainee, disciple? What would you call Ben Van Dam?
Disciple. Ben's one of my athletes. I'll call him one of my athletes, and Ben is also a really nice guy. So I'll call Ben my friend. So he's one of a good friend as well, and he's quite a strong rider as well. So yeah, he had a little bit of a malfunction in the last race. It wasn't an actual power dropout of his machine. It was a complete power dropout of the whole house and street. So the power went down. It is a little bit wild weather here at the moment in Tasmania. There is a storm come across Bass Strait, and it's sort of rocking things up. So yeah, we had a full power outage. I haven't had any up this end. Ben's about 200 kilometres away from me, so he's down the other end of the state in Tassie. But he's hoping that everything stays online for him for this race.
So it's cooking up a storm in Tasmania, and a rider's going to be cooking up a storm today. Richard Cook, 1 point behind his teammate Ben Simpson in the overall standing, out racing today. But I see a few new names to the course. I see Ben Van Dam, and I see Jeffrey Keel. Jeffrey Keel has been racing the Eastern eCrit. He's actually made the jump to race permanently over here in the Western eCrit because he said, you know what, the competition level is so high in the East, I feel I can jump over to the West and race 2 hours later, but have a higher possibility of winning that trip to Melbourne. And that is using your brain. I mean, don't you think that's smart, Wes?
Well, that's tactics right there. Yeah, if you want that trip, then yeah, then you can make that extra little bit of commitment of staying up a little bit later and jumping on the Western E series. So yeah, that's a smart move. If you're more confident in this group to get that free trip across, to come down on the 19th of September to Melbourne to race the final one of the eCrit series the day before the World Championships. It's going to be a pretty big event, isn't it, Jasper?
It's going to be massive. And, you know, most importantly, we're both going to be there. So you're not only winning a free trip, but you're going to get to see Wesley Sulzberger in person. And you can't really just press that mute button.
And Jesper, Mr. Cycling Hub himself, you're quite well known as well, mate. So don't worry, people know who you are. You certainly had my interest early on with Cycling Hub there, and I was following it, and all those updates and everything's so relevant and catchy. So I was well aware of who you were beforehand, mate. So you are a bit of a star in the cycling world.
Thank you very much. That was not. So I'll let you know the secret. This is too cute not to. So we've had technical issues in the past. And,
I was about to refresh.
I know, and I realized that as soon as I said that. So Wes and I have had technical issues, and we came up with a call sign that if I tipped my hat, Wes would fix the audio on his end. But yeah, we're getting real cute on this. Wes and I have had this Tuesday night date for a good 3 to 4 weeks now, and we're moving on.
Yeah, we're getting past that sort of, you know, that breakthrough through stage. We're starting to get a bit more comfortable around each other.
Oh God. Soon, guys, you know the honeymoon period is over and we're heading into the divorce. Sorry, guys.
Yes. Mate,
Oh no! Now I've actually got to tip my hat because the audio actually did cut out at that point. Speak of the devil. Sorry about that, guys. We're gonna cut real quick, and we fixed the audio issue earlier today, and Wes should be back right now. Can you confirm?
Back.
Yes,
I'm back.
So speedy and swiftly, we fixed the issues, and we're back.
Swiftly. Nice. I like the pun.
been working on that one for a while, trying to find out when to throw it out there.
Yeah, so we've got Richard Cook's up there as well. Who else we got up there is Richard Cook, and Walsh is there. So Walsh has last week was very aggressive and put in a couple of flyers there with those attacks and was really quite strong. And there was a fair few times there that he got that gap and it started to look a bit dangerous, and the others had to start to work to bring that gap back to make sure that he didn't continue on with it.
He's been really strong, and he was one of the guys who shared his setup earlier this week over on Setup Saturday on Go Zwift, and he's got quite of an interesting setup. So if you want to see that, head over to the Go Zwift Facebook page and look up last Saturday's post, Go Zwift, hashtag Setup Saturday. You can see most of the posts from the eCrit racers. One setup that comes to mind that we didn't discuss in the Eastern race was Aaron Dunn's. He's racing in the garage. He's got every single mechanical tool at his disposal.
What was that?
We're just going to turn on the camera and Wes for a second. It almost looked like the mechanical malfunction, speaking of that.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a dropout, literally.
We have an attack off the front here. I can't quite make out the name, but at 7 watts per kilogram, we have an attack. Who's this? Oh, I can't believe it. We had this all planned out, and then the audio cuts out the second it happens. Oh, I tip my hat once again, Wes. This is funny, though, because it only really happens for the Western races. This frequently, it never used to happen in the East race, but now the West. I see you're back. I can hear you again, I think. Hello?
Yeah, have you got me?
Yes.
Have you got me?
So, I guess that is the gods from above making a decision. But Jeffrey Keel, John O'Bates onto the attack. Ciano, and we've got a gap. So while we've been lollygagging about, the racers have been out in full force, and the peloton is already breaking up. At 6 watts per kilogram, the new additions of Ben Van Dam and Jeffrey Keel. There are riders out there in a world of hurt right now. Where's Ben Simpson? He's sitting just in the middle of the pack. Also hurting right now, chasing at the kill.
In there. Yeah, so it's really stretched out quite aggressively and early. We haven't seen anything like this happen in the Western eCrit series so early on. Like we had usually a few shakedown moves, but nothing like really solid like this was sticking. So Keel is really keen on. Look at this now. He's really keen on stirring this up and keeping that power on now. You can see that the bunch is stretched out and it's really still fanning out here. He wants to keep those riders that caught themselves further back. He wants to really make them work for that now and tax their legs a little bit more.
Off the back.
Yeah, Cook is off the back, right? Well, there you go. Then, like we've said this, Jesper, if you lose that gap in this racing, it's so hard to get it back. You've just got to fight tooth and nail to claw back here, and it's a solid commitment. You've got to go over that, well over that threshold up to that 8 to 10 watts a kilo, like a sprint finish to make it back into there.
Wow, Wes. First and second place overall. Ben Simpson is also in the gruppetto. Both riders 5 seconds behind, and it does not look like they're going to get back into the grand scheme of things. 6
They're going to have to work together here.
Dropped.
Yep, they're going to have to work together here. So this group that found themselves bridged back here, they're going to have to make sure they share that workload here now if they want to come back. It is still hovering in that 5 seconds range there, so they just need to make sure that they don't let up here and they actually have to lay it all on the line here to make sure they come back.
They're both racing for the Aussie Hop Day ride. A brilliant team down there from down under. They're working together. They're both sitting first and second place overall in the standings. And I know Ben Simpson, he'll be doing his best to try and get back on. But it looks like Cook, sorry, but he is well done for the day. 30 seconds out the back. He is not getting back on. So Simpson, all isolated, 6 kilometers into the race. Ouch.
Yeah, and this is going to hurt here. If they do keep this pace on the front here, it's going to be really hard for that group to bridge that last part across. Looks like Keel's going to keep that pace on again, using the power up as well. This is brutal. He's putting the nails in here in the coffin. He's making sure that group doesn't come back. John O'Bates is up there. Also, Ben Van Dam is in the mix there as well. So they're really keeping that. Keel is keen to keep that pace high. He's really putting the power down here.
I can't believe that Jeffrey Keel, Team Vision team member, is putting down the hurt this early on. He's seeing the current leader and second place both in difficulties because he's a really strong rider. I mean, he won a trip to London to race on Zwift. That's how strong he is. He made the jump from the Eastern eCrit to the Western eCrit, but it might be a really smart move, but he's still going to start at a disadvantage because that's 10 weeks of racing in the West eCrit that he's missed out on. He's gained points in the East, but not in the West. So he's got 14 weeks to dig back that deficit to the top, and that's why he's putting out 8 watts per kilos, and it's working out so far, Wes.
It looks like it is working out. Certainly turned the screws up early. We would have not expected that to be that hard pace set out. 6K in, and we had it busted up like it was a couple of K to go. So the pace is still on here, and they're not letting up. And there's a few ride-ons going on there. So for those people that are busting it up,
John O'Bates, by the way, the Cinderella story of the eCrit. By far one of my favorite riders to watch out on course, as he has made his way from the bottom of the table, slowly taking it one step at a time on the ladder. And today he could just propel himself all the way to the top of this ladder. And this is really going to be an interesting one to watch today, as John O'Bates putting out 6 watts per kilo, 10 kilometers into the race. So far, the pace has been exactly the same as the Eastern that we saw earlier today. Ciano, Bates, Van Dam, Keel. That's about it in the front group. 4 Walsh as well left in the front group.
Yeah, and it's 20 seconds back to that group with Simpson in it there. So it's still it's going to be hard for them to get back there now. So unless it's just Ben Simpson working on his own there, he's isolated. He hasn't got Cook there to help him. So it's quite a big ask to try and come back from there. But I hope that those guys keep working and don't give up, because we saw Ben Hill come back off the back, off the front, and won the race. So you can never count yourself out of this, but he's certainly going to have to work hard there, and everyone's going to have to work together for it to come back here. Keel is still up the front there, keeping that pace high, and now the other riders start to roll over him, so it'll be interesting to see whether they increase this pace again or whether they start to sort of sit in. They've done that shakedown, and now they start to size each other up and see if someone wants to go on with another move.
You never know if you're going to get cooked, by the way. So if you're dropped like Ben and Richard, keep digging at it, because a guy like Jono, a guy like Ciano, they're really in deep waters right now. This company, I mean, can they keep this up for 40 minutes is the question, because if they bunk hard. Yeah,
and that's the biggest too, that you can't count yourself out of it. Yeah, you've got to keep pushing on. This is so early in the race, and the pace and the fury that they're going out and smashing these pedals is around that sort of power that the riders would usually do the last lap of this race. So for them to go out, in this Western series harder pace, can they maintain it? These other riders that are being stretched out to their limit. Walsh is on the front here now. Ben Van Dam sitting up there pretty in second place. So that looks like they're still going to keep carrying on with that pace and hold it reasonably high. It's 37 seconds back to the next group. So yeah, it is going to be really tough, but those guys are going to have to keep pressing on here. Never give up. You never know whether they might all absolutely explode. Some of these riders might go way too into the red, and then you can come back from there.
If you're Ben Simpson and Richard Cook, how do you move forward from this? Because obviously this is one bad day. There's still 14 races left. How do you get over this hump for next week's eCrit?
Obviously it's going to be a little bit of a mental blow, but just to make sure that they're prepared, warmed up. I know that Ben Simpson had a good warm-up, actually helping Ben out a little bit with his coaching for the eCrit series. So as of last week contacted me, so I'm helping out a bit with making sure he's getting prepared. Obviously it's going to be a bit of a shakedown also for Richard Cook. Just with this, purely the pace was so high so early on, and I don't know whether they were either in a bad position or weren't quite ready for that. The bunch stretched out, the gap was gone, and before you knew it, we had we're down to 6 riders here off the front.
Yeah, and the gap is almost a minute now, and the gap is fairly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. If you're Ben Simpson, I would keep talking along, keep getting the workout in. You never know if somebody's going to have another. You never know what the weather's going to be like in Tasmania, so there might be another power outages.
Yeah, there might be a power outage. You know, it could be the commentator dropping out, or it could be Ben Van Dam who had that power drop out in the other E Series crit. But now on the Western, that was on the East one. So on the Western one, he looks like his power is working fine there, and he's sticking in there right up the front there with Richard Walsh, and Jono Bates is still in the mix there too. The underdog of the pack is Jono Bates.
The underdog. So I know you did some digging on Jono a while back. What did you find, Investigator Sulzberger?
Oh, I had a little bit of a look through Facebook. I found Jono. He's a family man. Looks like in some of his photos, he'd lost a bit of weight as well and increased his fitness. So, and obviously he's increasing his fitness here in the E Series. Each race he does, he gets stronger and stronger and shows his cards more and more, and just loves the attack.
That's all what Jono Bates is about. I'm having a look over on swiftpower.com because Anthony Ciano is he's the wild card. He's the unknown factor in this bunch group. He jumped on Zwift to race the eCrit series. These are the first races he's ever done. He's raced the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th race now here in the Western eCrit. He's gotten a max effort of about 4.5 watts per kilo is what he can maintain for an overall distance of an hour. His max heart rate is at 206, and he's sitting at 184 right now. And Ciano has finished 9th, 5th, and 5th, and today he's looking to make that top spot on the podium.
Oh, so he's your pick then. So your pick is you're going for Ciano.
He's been looking better and better, and I think we're going to have a game of cat and mouse. We know the two biggest egos in this group are Ben Van Dam and Jeffrey Keel, without a doubt, looking at the way they've been riding so far. And I think at that point, the uncommon factor, the unknown denominator, could just sneak one in.
Either that, or what about old mate Jono and Rupert there? They're probably going to take a flyer and try to see whether they can open things up.
Well, it's old dogs versus new dogs game. That's what it is. The three guys, Ciano, Walsh, and Mr. Johnny Bates, have to work together towards beating Jeffrey and Mr. Ben in the sprint. But we're not even at that point yet, and we're discussing way later points. We're at 13 kilometer mark now. They're racing 34 kilometers in total, and Ben and Jeffrey are putting on the herd now.
They are now, yeah. They're really stretching it out here, and I think that who's that? That's Keel going solo now. Ben's
Jeffrey
back
once
behind
again.
Him. Jeffrey's going for the doctor here. Did he use that power up to get that gap, or I think he's just done that with brute strength there. So he's really laying the hammer down. 6, 7 watts a kilo, over 7. Jeez, he's really putting it on here. He wants to create that gap and hold it now.
He
Ben
is
Van Dam's
a machine.
Ben Van Dam's going across. He's not quite on the back of him there, just hovering in his slipstream.
I said the sprint is still far away. For many, that would be a full-out sprint effort that Jeffrey and Ben, they're still doing it. They're still hovering around 7 to 8 watts.
No, I don't understand. Yeah, Keel should wait up here a little bit and let Ben get in there, because he's got to use someone here to work with. You don't want to go solo for more than half the race. So yeah, the smart move would be to let Ben come over the top there, and they need to work together now and just roll it through. I'm sure they both wanted to do a little bit of recovery there. It looks like they were just having a little hold the hands side by side there to have that quick recovery. And it looks like they're going to work together here. Yep.
That
and now
hurt
Keel's
Jeffrey,
going through.
though. That hurt Jeff.
That's got to take the legs. Got to take something out of the legs.
His max heart rate is 179, Wes, and he's at 170.
I was going to say, yeah, he's just hovering under that 170 now. So yeah, he's going to have to suck the air back in there, and he's got a high cadence going on there too. He was up to that 99, 100 cadence there. So he's spinning the legs out, trying to bring that heart rate back down. But yeah, they're holding good power here too. 5 watts a kilo. 5
watts per kilo. Wow. Western eCrit, you just got bamboozled. Jeffrey and Ben with the takeover of the Western eCrit today. You keep mentioning the cadence. You mentioned that earlier today as well. Coach Wes, what is the purpose of spinning a high cadence nearing the 100 RPM?
Oh, you see the guys like Froome and that, on climbs and everything too, and that does apply a little bit.
140 RPM?
Oh, probably, yeah. No, but they do. The bike riders these days, they do not grind the big gears, like the old days. They're not down in that really SE range, that strength endurance. Yeah, they're not grinding it out at 50 cadence anymore. They're more inclined to spin it out. So yeah, that's why we're seeing some of these riders, and as well some of these riders with the pace they're doing. And if they haven't changed their gears, automatically, if they haven't changed their gears and start upping their pace, they are going to affect their cadence and go into that high cadence unknowingly sometimes if they can't get that gear change down when they're trying to grab a bottle or something else as well. Maybe trying to get a sneaky gel. Everyone's got to have a sneaky gel when they're racing these E-Series. Most of them would have a gel beforehand though. So I don't know whether you'd even get the full effect of it if you're trying to have it mid-race. Yeah.
Sneaky gel. At least there's no magic spanners in this race. That much we can say. So
no magic spanners here.
The gap is 14 seconds between the group of John O'Bage, Walt Ciano, and up to Ben Van Dam and Jeffrey Keel. And it doesn't look like this bus is stopping anytime soon. Keel and Ben Van Dam, they're on a mission now. And now it's heads-up play. It's 1 versus 1. It's Ben versus Jeff. Because even if it comes back together, Wes, it's going to be tough to topple these guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're showing their dominance and showing their strength by going out together here, and they're not worried about easing up here at all. They're holding that hard tempo here. The other guys behind though look like they're working in there a little bit too. So, they're hovering at that 15 seconds, but it's going to be quite hard to beat these two guys with the power they're putting out, holding that. When they went on that attack at 7 watts a kilo, that like you said, that's the finish for usually this race. So, these guys have got some power.
I hope you weren't holding your breath when they were doing the sprint attack in the volcano, because otherwise you might just have choked. Because that was like 30 seconds, 35, 40 seconds at 7 watts per kilo. That felt like an eternity.
I'm like, okay, maybe they'll start to just get ready to start working together here. They already had the gap, but they still just decided to thrash it out. I don't know whether they were just sort of testing, whether Keel was sort of testing, Ben to see how good his legs were by just stretching in that little bit further. We see a good.
Oh, that was a malfunction on our end.
Now we see a really good racer there. Jesper is in the mix there. We saw Jesper spinning around, showing he's off his bicycle. He was at the front of the peloton there just for a flash, and now he's gone back to the gruppetto.
Just for a flash, showcasing that Vision kit. So you're part of WP TAS. I'm a proud member of Team Vision, the Euro version of WP TAS, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, and the work that goes through it, led by none other than Nathan Guerra, who's currently in Iceland racing a 3-day race event that is 24/7. Quite interesting, the Le Mans of cycling. So, but Jeffrey and Ben Van Dam at the front here.
Yeah, and we're hovering at that 11 to 12 seconds. So it was out to 14. So they're sort of just holding at that sort of 10 to 11 seconds there. So these guys behind still haven't given up. They're still working together. And we see that we've got Yang in there doing some solo work on the front. John O'Bates is coming around now. And he's going to sit back in there. Ben Van Dam, looks like they had a little bit of a gap there. That's a little gap there.
There's a 1 second gap, but it's still within 5 meters, but it's getting close to the edge now. Jeffrey is still drafting, but just at the very edge. And it looks like Ben is waiting for him.
Yeah. It'd be a wise move to work together here for those guys, because it was coming back a little bit. So those guys should settle in and work together there if they want to maintain that gap. This stop-starting sort of little bit of hocus pocus doesn't really do any favors to them trying to hold that gap on that bunch.
We're just at the halfway point. 34 kilometers of racing today. The situation on road is we got Jeffrey Keel and Ben Van Dam, the two rookies, the two newcomers to the Western Division over here. They're being chased by Ciano, by John O'Bage and Rupert Walsh. The gap is 14 seconds. Jeffrey and Ben are looking good to take this one. But do not forget, it's not all about first and second place. There are points for grabs. So getting third place, the only difference between first and third are 3 silly points. 3 points, the difference between first and third. So keep playing it smart. Wes, if you are Jono, if you're Ciano, if you're Rupert, do you start prioritizing that third place over a potential out of reach first place?
No, you wouldn't yet because they're all working together well there. And like I said, it's sitting at 10 to 12 seconds. So, obviously if it does come back, it's going to be hard to roll those guys with the power they're putting out. But you can never count yourself off. You can easily blow up in these sorts of races, and the pace was on so hard so early. So these guys, you want to work together here. Everyone looks like they're rolling turns nicely and working together. And then you're going to have to really start to think about whether you want to distance yourself from that small bit of a group at the end. And I reckon my man John O'Bates will have a little bit of a dig there if he was to try and stay away at the end there.
We'll see, but it's heating up towards the front as they're heading into the volcano now. Jeffrey Keel sitting 15 beats off his max heart rate. Ben, we haven't really seen his max heart rate. You're his coach, but I don't think you should reveal that information just yet, as it'll be made public after this race. So there's that bit of surprise information as you're racing.
Yeah, but Ben's sitting up there at that 170 mark, so he's still definitely working pretty hard there. So yeah, it's good to see that he's getting a good workout after that mishap he had with the last race, having complete power out of his whole street, and now the power's back on, and he's laying the power on here, working together with Keel.
I'm surprised the Australian internet is more reliable than the Australian power. Just saying. I would have thought one would have gave out before the other, not the other way around. That's speaking from personal experience being down under just as recent as 3 weeks ago. So just saying. But anyway, Tasmania, you rock.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having us on. We punch above our weight down here, that's for sure.
Well, with Richie Port heading into the tour, we'll see just how far above your weight you're able to punch.
Yeah, Richie is in really fine form. We're talking a little about that a little bit off air earlier, and you were saying, most people would say that he's peaked too early. His form was so good at the Dauphiné, he was so strong in that time trial. But it's hard for me still not to get excited. With that form, I'm sure and positive. That the haters, as yourself, would say he's peaked too early. But I'm not going to say he's peaked too early. I think Richie's on fine form for the tour, and I'd really love to see him go up on that top step of that podium.
On that note, I think right here on Zwift Community Live, we should have a ride and preview of the tour with Wesley Sulzberger. I'd love to dig your brain about a few topics coming up for the grand spectacle of racing that is the Tour de France, where everyone from around the world tunes in to our beloved sport for a good 21 days to watch Richie, Chris, Naro, all the great guys, Peter Sagan, let's not forget, put on a grand spectacle.
But until that moment, thanks for tuning into the E-Series, because we are still having a good race here, and Keel looks like he's distanced himself here. Or is that Ben actually distancing himself?
It is Jeff. It is Keel going off the front.
Yeah, it's Keel. Yeah, Jeff. So Jeff decided to have a bit of a dig here. He's up out of the saddle.
Oh, he has to use a featherweight. That must mean he's in a bit of a difficulty right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Ben Van Dam is just hovering down behind him there. I don't know whether maybe Ben's just saving, maybe wanted to get rid of that one so he got that extra power up there. So
that is true. Just trying to get rid of it so he can get the arrow.
Yeah, because he's just about to come through here under the banner, so they will get some different power-ups here. So maybe he just wanted to get rid of that one.
See, I have a sneaky feeling that Jeffrey Keel is sitting on an arrow power-up. We've not seen him utilize his power-up for a good 2 to 3 laps. Which either means he's got the worst luck in the world, or he has got a golden ticket.
He's got plenty of experience. You gotta love the experienced ones.
It's always fun when you're racing and you go, okay, I'm starting to hurt. Give me that arrow power up. You look up and you see a massive plus sign and you go.
That was pretty much in a nutshell. It's exactly that face. You're just like, oh, seriously.
That comes from a face that has raced too much on Zwift back in the days before voice took over from the legs. Thank God for that, by the way. These efforts out there, they're so tough.
The other guys are sitting back at 35 seconds, so they're still holding at that. It's going from 35 to 40 seconds. Looks like a fair-sized group there. Maybe there's some other people that have been out on course. Looks like they've joined that group. So we've got some cowboys and Indians in there in that group.
There were a few riders that have been lapped. So unlike in the real crit series outside, you'd get pulled. Zwift is all about participation. So even if you get lapped, you can try and hang on till the riders come flying by. But even that can be a difficult task. So if you've been lapped, keep chucking on. It's a good exercise. I'm sure Coach Wes can sign off on that advice.
Yeah, definitely keep in there. You're still getting that workout, and you're still getting involved. Even if you are that lap down, jump back in there, see if you can hold on. That'll push your limits for the next time when you jump in for the E-Series, and maybe you ought to hold on that a little longer, or maybe you ought to even stay in the bunch.
And at least you gave it your all. That's the one feeling you always want to have when you jump off the turbo trainer, because otherwise, why are you on the turbo trainer, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And this game certainly inspires you to hurt yourself. So, staring at a wall on a turbo trainer, staring at a screen with an avatar and lots of other people on there, it makes for a good time. Makes it definitely more interesting. Especially when you have guys, that start talking about your racing when you're riding on your indoor trainer. That's
you
when it starts to get
too
interesting.
can be a superstar. All you gotta do is jump on your turbo trainer and get on Zwift.
Yeah. We're talking about Chris Froome and Richie Port battling it out, but right now we have a battle here with Ben Van Dam and I think Jeffrey Keel is going to probably keep this pace on here. Looks like he up through this volcano. He likes to dig it in a little bit here and just test Ben out.
He is quite the engine out there. Right now, I think he's trying to soften up the legs of Ben, because I've not seen him dig below 4.5, 5 watts in quite a while now. His watts stay constant towards the top.
Yeah, he's really holding that threshold there. He's not going back under that. So I don't know if that's like his tactic there, just to sit fully at that threshold to see whether he can stretch Ben out and to see whether he can see any weakness there in Ben, and whether whether Keel is going to sort of hit Ben when he sees that weakness, or uses that sneaky power up, that aero power up that he's been guarding his power up. So I'm assuming he must have an aero power up.
See, I'm kicking myself right now because I have the inside information, because I caught up with Jeff while he was in London. He is the Australian champion something. He definitely, I'm not sure what he's the Australian champion in. He's got the Aussie national stripes. I'm sure he can confirm that over on Zwift Oz later today, but he's definitely got the power to back up his mouth as he's putting it out today, because I feel like this is the beginning of a great rivalry right here in the eCrit series with Jeff out on course. And he did this in the CVR event in London. He was dropped early on because Tim Cartwright is just, in another life, he would have been a world tour stage racer. He's just that good. And Jeffrey was hanging on to him, got dropped, and then he just kept chugging along, and he finished a minute down on one of the best racers, amateur racers in all of Britain. So, right on.
So, he's definitely right on. So he's not one to tangle with if you're not going to back it up with the legs there. So, Ben Van Dam's in with a fight here against him. So it's definitely going to come down to the wire here. These two riders obviously showing their strength. Being out here, away from that group, looks like they're still hovering at that 35 seconds gap back to the others there. And it looks like they've settled in, like you asked me earlier, what would they do now? It looks like they definitely will be settling for that third place now and just battling it out. Unless one of these two out the front has any sort of mechanical, or they have to call Mavic or Shimano service, I don't think they're going to come back.
So I told the backstory of Jeffrey, my friend and teammate. You know Ben. What is Ben's daily life like?
So Ben works with his dad, local business, and so he has a little bit of time flexibility. So it's handy for his training. So obviously working for your dad. He understands that Ben is quite interested in his cycling and getting on his career. So Ben really wants to make sure that he steps it up and jumps across to an NRS team. So I've been helping Ben with his training to make sure that he's ready for that. And I really think that he definitely has that power and is ready to make that step across the NRS scene. So if you're unaware of the NRS scene, it's a national road series. So Ben will be going across and to ride with a Sydney team for one of the up-and-coming NRS races. So that's really exciting for Ben, and I hope that things can continue on for him, and he'll probably, most likely, I'll keep him involved in this series and try and write that into his program. It is a bit of a late night for him staying up this late. If you're not on the on the on the western side. But I think Ben will be pretty keen to keep on racing, and maybe he'll do the double up each week. Depends what I plan for him over the weekends and what racing he has on here locally.
Now that's just plain evil, coach. But I love it. Please do it. Then we need to get a face cam on Ben as he does the first one, and then an hour later he does the second one, and you can just see the life sucking out of his head.
Okay, that's it for next week. So we had the photos of your setup. Next week will be a photo of your face before starting the event, when you're in that warm up and after, directly before and after face. So then we can split it, put them side by side.
There you go. You can see. Man, in another life, you should have been a social media manager, Wes. You have got this under control.
I'm just calling how I see it. Oh, you've tipped the hat. Have I lost audio there again?
No, we need to come up with a different sign. I need to learn the signs for East. I know you did this. The very first time I met you, you were like, East Coast, yeah. West Coast. I was like, real, like, 80s flashback. So let's just disregard how bad those signs were for a second.
Yeah, you said don't do that on camera, so we're on the West series here. You did call me out early on that. You said, whatever you do not do that in the broadcast.
I did instigate it just there. It is 35 degrees, and I don't think my brain is functioning quite right here in the beautiful countryside of Surrey, United Kingdom, where it is so blazing hot right now, just like it is out on CCW Course when they're doing the 7 laps of the Volcano circuit, 34 kilometers in total length.
And I just trying to work out who's in that back group there. I think I'm gonna have to cross over to an old flashback of a song just to find out who's back there.
Who's back there?
On them now. I think who's back there. Let me just check.
Now you've done whatever you do when you try to get that going, Wes. It kills the audio on your end. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to. I'm gonna tip my hat for real this time, as we've lost the audio from Wes as he's trying. But it's John O'Bates, Rupert Walsh, and then we have Anthony Ciano, but Jeffrey Keel, 11 watts per kilogram. And as we've lost Wes, we've actually have an attack off the front at the worst possible time, as we have an attack from Jeff. He's put Ben Van Dam in the dust. Ben Van Dam has stopped. No, Wes, I'm still working on the audio to try and get you back in, but... Oh, we're back. I can hear you now.
Oh, no.
Ben stopped.
Oh, what's going on? So he must have had a power out, I reckon, again.
Again, with 1.5 laps to go, Ben Van Dam. Power out.
Yep, so that means that the second and third place is up for grabs, and if Ben has got that drop out of power out. So last time, it wasn't just a drop out of his actual Wahoo kicker, it was actual power out of the house. The whole street went out, the power. So we do have some wild winds and a little bit of rain and storms here in Tasmania at the moment. Ben's 200k away from me down in the south of Tassie. So yeah, there must be probably a little bit.
You better run and hide right now, Wes. It's coming for you.
Oh dear.
I would be cursing up a storm. Ben Van Dam put out a good 40 minutes of effort in the East race. About an hour later, 40 minutes of effort in the West race. And he's got nothing to come up with after 1 hour and 30 minutes on the bike. Ouch.
Yeah, I'm really, really disappointed for him because, yeah, it would have been a really good battle for him and good to learn those tactics of how the Zwift finishes with that one-on-one tactic at the end there, you know, making sure that he followed in the slipstream there and come off and use his power up at the right time. But now we see a time trial we see out in front here. So, you know, it's a time trial for Jeffrey now. Now it leaves it open to Walsh and John O'Bates to come up with those goods for that second and third place.
Looking at the sprint in that second group, this particular sprint is a tricky one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one.
Because the lead-in is so tough. We saw John O'Bates pull one over on the rest of the bunch last week, but Rupert Walsh knows how to handle the sprint better than no one else. And Ciano has to somehow attack off the front and try to pull a fast one.
Yep. So it's his only option, really, isn't it? He's gonna have to. Yeah. So it's going to come down to it. And I bet, like I said, these riders, anything can happen. So that they've kept working together here, rolling along. We've got Ben out of the race now. So, it opens back up. You never know what can happen. So that's why you've got to just keep carrying on here and make sure that you stay in this race, even if you think you're out of it.
That is sure. That is one thing that is true. And now we're heading under the arch. 1 kilometer to go. I have the fake cowbell, but I would much prefer if we could ring the teacup once again. Wes.
Oh, hold on. I've got 2 cups.
Oh, here we go. Popping the arrow power up. Jeffrey was holding the arrow, but with 1 lap to go, he's going to use it as he's on a 4 kilometer TT.
He's got the TT going on now.
Wes, what sort of time can we expect from Jeffrey? 1 lap.
He's just gonna settle in here into that nice pace. It looks like he's got 21 seconds. He's gonna be able to hold this for sure.
I'm looking over that left side column and I'm seeing 4.2 kilometers. The fastest lap of the day is 5 minutes and 3 seconds. I think we're about to see 4:55, 4:57 from Jeff.
Well, I was just getting a message from Ben, and he had that power out, so...
No way!
Yeah, he said that power out the whole street, so that's no good at all.
Next week, he's got to come up to the Wesley Casa, and then he's got to set up on the kicker in your facility. That way, there's no power outage.
Yeah, there's no power outage, so... Yeah, we're going to see a good battle here back for 2nd and 3rd place here now, because this 1st place is set. They're not going to come back and get Jeffrey back from here. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Jono comes through with the goods, or whether Rupert or Sicano can go over the top. I wonder whether anyone didn't have a power up and they're waiting to come through and actually picked up something then. That would be just magic for them. So it'd be interesting to know that. If anyone has picked up something on the last one, then tweet that or link that to the Zwift page, the Go Zwift page, or the Aussie Zwift page to say that you got that power up or at that right moment. Let us know what happened there. It's good to get a little bit of insight so we can use that as well for the next time. We've got going back there to Ben Simpson and those guys. A minute back, so they've still kept carrying on. So they haven't gone completely out of reach, but obviously the race is the line is coming up before we get to that part of it. So they aren't going to be in here for the running for the actual top 3 places, but they've still carried on. So good work. And like I said, you never know what's going to happen in these e-races. We may have a whole peloton with power outage, You don't know.
Ben has got to be kicking and screaming at this point, because I bet you when he sees the final results page, he's averaged more. He's averaged the same, if not more, watts per kilo, like the guys in this group. It just comes down to that 30 seconds of high-intensity power where you've got to make sure you are in that front group.
Yeah, you've got to make sure you're in that front group because, it can be just cruel, absolutely cruel. If you miss it, then that's it. It can be lights out for the race, and it's just can be really hard to come back from that mentally. So you've got to be really mentally strong to come beat yourself way back and not count yourself out.
Sorry for cutting you out, but Tim Cartwright, a racer that Jeffrey actually raced in London, the guy who is probably the best amateur in all of Britain, is out there with Jeffrey right now, side by side. That is so awesome to see.
Nice work. So it looks like they're gonna roll together there. I wonder whether they're gonna have a little mock sprint at the end there. That'd make it really interesting. That little mock sprint at the end would be really good fun. A bit of banter.
But you can't script this. Literally 5 minutes ago mentioning the battle, and now it's reconstructed all over again as Jeffrey's trying to put out his fastest time of the evening on the Volcano counterclockwise circuit, as he's got about 2 kilometers to go now. Him and Cartwright playing a tug-of-war game out in the front. Looking further back, Walsh, Bates, and Ciano. 3 riders isolated. Walsh, the better sprinter. Jono Bates, probably the better tactician. Ciano has got a battle. He's got a mountain to climb here.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for that finish with Scarno, but yeah, I'm gonna back Bates here for this. Yeah, Rupert obviously is probably the faster one, but Jono, I think with his tactics and the way he's raced the last couple of races, I'm going to go with Jono.
I like that pick. I'm gonna stay with Ciano. I'm not gonna jump ship, even though it might be sinking. This captain is staying aboard this SS cruise all the way to the finish. Like, go on, Anthony Ciano. Try to pull one over. You got to go for a long sprint. So we're watching Jeffrey now ascend into the finish line. He's got about 500 meters to go, and then he's won his second race, I believe it is, actually, over in the West Coast. He raced one of the first ones. I think this is actually his second victory here in the Western eCrit. So he's got a few points backing him up. And here Jeffrey goes. 6 watts per kilo, 400 meters to go, and over a minute down to the chasing group. Solid effort from Ben and Jeffrey. What could have been if it wasn't for the Tasmanian power.
It would have been a really good battle. It would have been awesome to see this finish. It would have been absolutely I reckon it would have been almost a drag race, because the power these guys were putting out was reasonably similar. So it would have been a really good drag race up to the finish. And to know, obviously, that Jeffrey had that power up, that aero power up, so he probably would have been timing that right. And he's a man of experience on here for racing, so he would have had that timing down to keep. He would have had that timing over Ben with that, because Ben hasn't done as many races here on Zwift. So yeah, it would have been a really good battle.
Here we go. We're leading into the Volcano. Final 750 for the chasing group. We've got Bates, Walsh, and Ciano, the trio, the three musketeers now heading into this. Bates on the front, Ciano on the second wheel. He is settling it down now. He doesn't want to go too early. They've not popped their power-ups just yet, but there they go. Rupert Walsh on the left with an arrow. Jono Bates with an arrow. But Ciano has the draft. He has been shafted. Oh.
Looks like Bates is going to come over the top. I'm going to say here, Bates has got it. I think he's timed it right.
He's coming around, Wes. Jono Bates. Here comes Johnny all the way to the finish line. Wes, he has Johnny.
Johnny. Oh, he's going to hold on. It's still a long fight. He's got it. He's got it.
All the way to the finish. Work. First, Jeffrey. Second, Jono. Third, Rupert Walsh. Fourth, Anthony Ciano. Ladies and gentlemen, and fifth, of course, Ben Simpson. And further down, Richard Cook. Thank you so much, everyone, for the racing. Brilliant racing. The Western eCrit has definitely picked up steam as of late. Next week, we're going to be on the London Course Classics, and we'll see if anyone's got anything left for another week of eCrit racing.
I reckon there'd be lactic coming out of their eyeballs right now.
Pooh! Wesley, as always, it is my pleasure to have you on here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and cast these races. I'm sure the rest of the Oz community appreciate it just as much. Is there anything you want to say before heading off? Maybe some en route coaching plug-in?
Yeah, if you're looking to get any coaching, then jump on enroutecycling.com.au and I can help you out, whether you're racing the E-Series or whether you're racing around the world. It doesn't matter, whatever platform we can use and get you getting that power up out on the road as well as online. So join into the E-Series as well and take part, because you never know what can happen, as we saw tonight.